Over the last couple of decades, athletes that have decided to test the NHB or MMA waters would tread into new territory, figuring out their weight category in a sport that had no weight classes. In the past, fighters fought. It didn't matter how many pounds heavier their adversaries were. They got into the ring or cage to prove that the training was one of the most integral parts of the battle. Martial artists like BJJ ace Jeff Curran and future UFC champion Jens Pulver are just two that would have to bulk up to compete at a weight division 30 pounds above their natural class, against men that would go on to win titles at 170 pounds. For many of these athletes, the toll these battles took on their minds and body are immeasurable. In 2012, the UFC introduced the idea of crowning a new champion in a developing division. The organization used the old-school approach of holding a four-man tournament to determine the number one 125-pound fighter in the world. In the first pairing, Team Alpha Male stalwart Joseph Benavidez, who was considered the favorite to win the Grand Prix after dispatching former IFL champion Wagner Fabiano and former WEC bantamweight king Eddie Wineland. Benavidez would drop to flyweight to meet experienced Japanese fighter Yasuhiro Rashitani, who was the winner of 5 straight. The bout would take place in Sydney, Australia, and it would be the first 125-pound matchup in UFC history. The American would dispatch Rashitani by second-round TKO to advance to the championship round. On the other side of the bracket, Kirkland, Washington's Demetrius Johnson would face off with Tachi Palace Fight flyweight champion and WEC veteran Ian McCall. Johnson was hoping to rebound from a decision loss to bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz, and many felt Johnson shouldn't have been given the decision when he battled former champion Miguel Torres in the fight before his tilt with Cruz. The bout would mark the first for Uncle Creepy since winning the Tachi title in 2011. It was a back-and-forth battle where fans got the chance to witness the speed, precision, pace, and incredible athleticism of this new division. However, after a bizarre ending, the bout would be ruled a majority draw, and the two would have to do it again approximately 3 months later. This time, it would be Johnson who would get the unanimous decision nod and a crack at the inaugural Flyweight Championship. At UFC 152 in Toronto, Demetrius Johnson would tangle with Joseph Benavidez, and over the course of 5 rounds, both men displayed an array of skill, heart, and determination. Each man proved worthy of the strap, but it would be Mighty Mouse's night as he earned the title with a split decision triumph. Since then, DJ has separated himself from the rest of the pack by dispatching the division's elite, and many in the industry marvel at the champion's incredible abilities and consider him to be one of the sport's pound-for-pound best. Many of the top fighters in the division are now in their 30s, and the fans are curious to know what the future holds in store for the 125-pound class.
With Demetrius Johnson quickly running out of challengers, I decided to take a look at 5 men under the age of 30 that could impact the future of the division. Kyoji Horiguchi. After a successful UFC debut, the former Cejudo bantamweight champion would make the move down to 125 pounds and would go 3 straight to remain undefeated in the UFC. In April of 2015, the 24-year-old Supernova would get his chance at UFC Gold when he faced the champion in Montreal. Unfortunately, the Japanese fighter would fall short, but would use the experience to improve as a fighter. Now training at AKA, Horiguchi possesses all the skills and drive necessary to become successful in mixed martial arts, and he will surely challenge for a title down the road. Justin Scoggins. The 23-year-old ATT representative is a prospect to keep an eye on. Armed with a vicious striking game and a finisher's mentality, ending a number of fights by head kick, Scoggins has already faced 2 of the division's best, which will serve him well in his bid to becoming the king of the class. Constantly improving, the creative Scoggins is a risk-taker and has a pleasing style that should attract a mainstream following. If the youngster continues with consistency, he could be considered a frontrunner over the next few years. Ray Bourque. The 22-year-old Taz-Mexican Devil trains alongside welterweight tough guy Tim Means at Fit NHB in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and has proven himself to be a fierce competitor, only losing once thus far in his career, a split decision setback against Dustin Ortiz. Since that loss, he has won back-to-back fights and secured performance bonuses in each of these contests. The future certainly seems bright for the 8-1 fighter. Henry Cejudo. Many feel that the Olympic gold medalist could be the man to defeat the current champion with the right training. Cejudo is an intense athlete whose goal is always the victory. Often critical of his past performances, fans get to see the drive of a competitor looking for perfection. The 28-year-old wrestler's improvements from bout to bout are impressive, and followers of the sport should expect a title shot to come within the next year. The question is, will Cejudo take it, even if he feels he might not be ready to challenge the champion? Dustin Ortiz. The 26-year-old Roufusport standout is one of the most exciting fighters on this list. With 18 fights under his belt, Ortiz brings a violent approach to every one of his tilts and for the most part always delivers action. The 4 losses on his resume are decisions against some of the division's best, and he is respected as one of the class's most fearsome competitors. If he continues to grow his fighting abilities, no telling how much he can achieve.